He is everywhere right now because he's got a show on Apple called Your Friends and Neighbors, and it's #1. I don't know if it's like #1 all over or if it's just #1 in drama, but it's doing really well. It's already been renewed, and he just did SNL to promote it. Let's take a little bit of a look at that.
But even though it's been a while, I've still been on the show a lot. In fact, I was checking my own Wikipedia, which I often do, and I found out that since then I've made 14 cameos. Yeah.
Okay, #1, he was looking at his own Wikipedia, which I would bet there's a big part of that Wikipedia that he would love to have just deleted. But he doesn't mention that. Instead, he's congratulating himself on being so freaking awesome. He's Jon Hamm and you're not. Are you as impressed with Jon Hamm as Jon Hamm is? I don't know that you could be. Take a look at him on his good friend Jimmy Fallon's show last week.
You are a stud! Woo! You are a stud, Jon Hamm! Come on! I love you, bud.
You're never wrong. You're never wrong.
You're never wrong. I think all of us have been wrong about Jon Hamm for a very long time. You know, when he first burst on the scene with Mad Men, I mean, everyone, myself included, had a huge crush on this guy. And he sort of really kind of came in and was like a throwback to a very old school kind of masculinity. And even today, he still kind of has it. You know, he's really in stark contrast to like the Timothy Chalamets and those like fey, twee little guys who don't quite read as, I think, traditionally masculine. Fair, whatever. But I would also like to say this before we get into the scandal that he has successfully ridden out and hidden lo these many years. Having just acted myself in a short little film called With Love, Megan, that's Megan with a Y, in which Megyn Kelly portrayed a Meghan Markle adjacent character, in which I portrayed a Mindy Kaling adjacent character, one who displayed really just fear and servility and felt like a hostage throughout the whole thing. You know, we've gotten some really nice notices. We've heard the words Emmy and Oscar bandied about. So I say that just to tell you that I think I now can legitimately criticize another actor's skill set. And I'm going to tell you that I think Jon Hamm is a very limited actor. He only ever displays barely concealed rage, okay? He's got one speed, that is it. Mad Men, rage. Bridesmaids, he's a douche. The Town, he's playing an FBI agent. He's the good guy. He still manages to make that guy a douche. Now he's in this show called Your Friends and Neighbors, in which he's also playing, yet again, a douche. And in the first episode, this shocks me. I think it's played for laughs. I didn't find it very funny. He assaults his daughter's boyfriend. Watch.
Jake, is it? If you call me sir one more time, I'm gonna punch you in the dick.
You're being crazy. Mom, Dad's being crazy.
You're okay with this?
Go inside and get something to eat.
You know about this. You're fine with this. Sorry. Okay, fuck off, Jake. Fuck right off.
And then the Hamm character makes good on his promise.
I didn't know you were going to be here.
Daddy! What did you do? Oh my God.
I told you to stop calling me
Jake,
sir.
are you okay?
So he punches this 20-year-old kid in the genitals. And then in the following episode, he runs into this kid again. And instead of saying, thanks for not pressing charges, thanks for not suing me civilly, this is what he says.
Well, I hope there's no lasting damage. And more importantly, I hope there's no hard feelings.
Okay, let's talk about lasting damage. When Jon Hamm was a frat boy at the University of Texas at Austin, he was the alleged ringleader of a fraternity hazing so savage, he nearly killed a kid, okay? And we're gonna go through the victim interview that was conducted in the wake of this frat hazing. The victim is named Mark Allen Sanders. And he begins by telling the investigators that he arrived to this frat hazing and one Jon Hamm, his name is misspelled in this transcript, which I have every reason to believe is real. Here is the top sheet of this private investigation. So his name in the transcript is spelled with an H instead of just Jon. Jon Hamm tells him to settle in because it is going to be a very long night. The first challenge that this pledge was supposed to complete was to know all of what Jon Hamm called his bullshit. And the bullshit included his nicknames, one of which was MC Hammer. And because this kid, Mark, could not come up with the proper nicknames, he said he gets mad, meaning Jon Hamm. And I mean really mad. And he grabs us both. So now Jon Hamm has grabbed two pledges by either side, one arm here and one arm here. So think of the strength that takes. So he marches these two little pledges upstairs where they meet two other frat boys who have a paddle. Okay, and this isn't like a ping pong paddle. This is what the victim describes as a two-handed wooden paddle that was at least a foot long. So that's solid wood, okay? They begin to beat Mark Sanders. He says very hard, rearing back. These aren't love taps. He's hitting me left-handed. So he's everywhere. He's on his right side. He's on his left side. Then at a given point, Jon Hamm, again, according to this transcript, takes the paddle, and the victim describes Jon Hamm rearing back, and he hits me right over my right kidney. I mean, square over it, good solid hit, and that stood me up. So now this guy is like dying over where he's been hit in the kidney. He says, I'm hurting bad. I mean, being hit right where the kidney is, it's killing me. This was not the end for Mark. Next comes sawing, in which two of the brothers allegedly pulled up his underwear from inside his pants, Mark's pants. This is what he said. The more they pulled, the way they were pulling was one would be pulling up. They were pulling like it was sawing, and it was hurting, and it hurt. He doesn't even know how long they continued doing that. Now we get to Jon Hamm, who is described as an officer of the fraternity. Mark says that Jon Hamm was, quote, with me all night, never left me. So then Jon Hamm and the group lead me downstairs to the quote unquote pit. And this is like a sort of dirty, super confined space. And Mark is ordered to get in the dirt and begin forcibly doing push-ups, okay? His kidney is so damaged, like he can barely breathe. Now he's got to do push-ups. Jon Hamm, according to this transcript, and another frat boy, quote, they were actually pushing my face to get in the dirt. He told me to get my face in the dirt, and then all the pledges are taken out of there except me. I'm left in there with Jon Hamm, with who I believe is a true sadist. Jon Hamm is going to try to do cleanup on aisle 9. Trust me, you're not going to like it. So this pledge, Mark, brutally beaten, is trying to get up and walk out with the other pledges, just get out of that pit. And Jon Hamm says to him, stay where you are. You're not going anywhere. It's not over yet for you. Next up, if you've ever heard of somebody doing this, I would like to meet you because I've never heard of anything this savage. So now Mark is with Jon Hamm. Okay. He's hearing other guys that are around me because they are so close, but he's really disoriented clearly at this point, Mark is. Somebody's walking on his back, okay? Forcible push-ups, face in the dirt, walking on his back. Then this is where we pick up, quote, I'm told to stand up. So I get up on my knees again. Obviously, he can't even stand up. And this is when Jon Hamm pulls out a lighter and he puts his lighter on. And I was wearing designer jeans, name redacted, and I have this loop on the front, and he took the lighter and caught that on fire. Question, this was Jon Hamm? Mark, yeah, and my head is down. I mean, my chin is in the chest at this point. I see him light the lighter and put it to my pants. Did he say anything when he did that? Question. Mark, yeah, he said something. I don't remember what it was. I tried to put out the fire immediately. Question, with your hand. Mark, yeah, with my hand, but he knocked my hands away. Question, Jon Hamm knocked your hands. Mark, yes, Jon Hamm knocked my hand away, and I was kind of panicking because I was wearing a cotton t-shirt. He could feel the heat. I actually tried to put it out with my hand. This is Mark again. And Jon Hamm, wouldn't let me. He made me blow it out with my mouth. So the fire is put out, but Jon Hamm's not done. Now he's picked up a hammer. And I'll say it's Jon Hamm, Mark says, because he was the one wearing a dark overcoat. And I could see in the arm the hammer and this dark overcoat. So Jon Hamm takes that hammer claw, hooks it under Mark Sanders' genitals, and drags him around the room for about a solid minute. Let's talk about lasting damage, because this guy barely escaped with his life. He tells the investigators when he sits down with them weeks later that he's been to the doctor. He has a broken back. His spine is fractured. His doctor has told him he may lose his right kidney. He has extreme trauma. My kidney spasms and it rebruises itself. This is Mark. And he told me it was from being hit right over it, the kidney. I can remember feeling being hit hard right over this. Oh, he was also beaten with a broomstick. I forgot that part. Right over my rib cage. Whenever I breathe, my lung actually can't go all the way because it's pinned between my rib cages from, I assume it was beaten down some, beaten into me. He's got ligament damage, cartilage damage, artery, vein, nerve damage. His rib cage is bruised severely. If you've ever had rib cage pain, if you've ever broken a rib or had surgery, you know what that's like. He's worried that he's going to lose his kidney. The whole right side of my body, Mark tells them, is swollen severely. He has tried to give me medication to stop the swelling on my back, but it doesn't work. It doesn't help. Another pledge who survived that night said in his statement that he was so scared, even though he lives 3 hours away, that he was so scared to return to Austin because, quote, he doesn't know to what extent they, Jon Hamm and his frat brothers, will go to get even for reporting this crime. Now, if I remember this correctly, because I remember reading about it when it first came out, and nobody really covered it. It didn't really get pickup, and I could never understand why. People have been canceled for a lot less. I mean, Kevin Spacey right now is selling off every piece of real estate he's ever purchased during his long and storied career. As far as I know, he has never been convicted of rape. He has never been criminally convicted in a court of law in America. I think he got convicted of something in the UK. But, you know, really, he was kind of a pig and he was gross and he was handsy, but he didn't do anything approaching this, as far as I know. Kevin Spacey can't get hired. Alec Baldwin is making a movie in Italy right now, okay? He just finished a reality show that was an attempt to clean up his image. He shot and killed a woman on a set that he ran that saw the bulk of the crew members walk out the day of the shooting over firearm safety concerns. But because Jon Hamm looks like this, by the way, this is the New Interview magazine. He's interviewed by his good friend Tina Fey, in which they just tongue bathe each other. He says to her, it's not fun to work with people that aren't fun. Like him, I guess. He also says that he's a firm subscriber to the no assholes policy. Because if you're on that list of being an asshole, you're not getting calls. Not for nothing, but Tina Fey admitted in her book, Bossy Pants, and she's spoken about this in interviews, you can Google them, you'll find them, that she was a mean girl in high school. This is another topic we're going to get to later in the show, mean girls. And I always wondered about people like her, like Kirsten Wiig, you know, who sort of like helped Jon Hamm enter that SNL little clique, that comedy world. And my theory about them is that they were never the homecoming queens. They were the comedy nerd girls who kind of didn't fit in. And a guy like Jon Hamm comes along and pays them some attention, and their knees buckle. They can't believe it. They can't believe a guy this hot would look twice at them. And so they're doing dirty work for him. In my opinion, you can't tell me they don't know about this. If I know about it, they have to know about it. And now we all know about it. There's another thing I want to touch on, and this goes to who in Hollywood is a protected class, who in Hollywood will be summarily kicked out and never hired again, and who is just sort of considered like kind of a bad boy. This is also the New York Times Magazine very recently. Bill Murray, who's out promoting a movie with Naomi Watts called The Friend. It's based on an incredible book by an author named Sigrid Nunez. If you've never heard of it, I suggest you look into it. It's basically a semi-autobiographical novel. A friend of hers died and left her his dog. And it's this very unusual, non-cliched, non-sentimental, really beautiful love story. And so Bill Murray was promoting this movie with Naomi Watts on Watch What Happens Live like a week or so ago. I watched it in real time. My jaw hit the floor. Look at this.
Hi, and Naomi. So my question is, what has been the best on-screen kiss of your career?
I mean, oh, yes.
So I watched that broadcast of Watch What Happens Live in real time. And I am convinced that Bravo and NBC Universal went in and cleaned that clip up, because I distinctly recall a wide shot in which I saw Bill Murray take an unwitting, unsuspecting Naomi Watts. He put one hand on top of her head, he put the other hand under her jaw, and he kept her head immobile, and he dragged her over to him and planted a kiss square on her mouth, and it was lengthy. It lasted for quite a bit. And what did Andy Cohen do? He sat there and he laughed. He laughed. He thought it was funny. And when Bill Murray finally released Naomi Watts, you could tell she was kind of in shock. And, you know, she's got to play the game, right? Bill Murray looks straight at the camera and gives it a thumbs up. A thumbs up. This New York Times Magazine piece, by the way, I mean, where did I mark it? He talks about basically like kind of being an asshole, you know, and like he's had assault accusations leveled at him before. He's not a guy you want to get angry. So, but he gets away with this. Like everybody gives him back. Why? Because like Bill Murray's cool? Because he's funny? Because he's kind of like irascible? He gets a pass for this? If I'm Naomi Watts, I would never work with him again. And I would maybe consider pressing charges. I don't know. But I want to circle back one more time to Jon Hamm, because there's something else about him that I find particularly despicable. And there's a kind of guy who does this and gets off on it. He was with his girlfriend, Jennifer Westfeldt, for about 18 years. And when they got together, he was the struggling one, and she was the one who had a little bit more success. She's a screenwriter, an actress, a director. She would put him in her movies. She made a semi-autobiographical movie called, I think it's called Friends with Kids. And it was sort of informed by her life with Jon Hamm, who would give all these interviews talking about how he wasn't like a marriage guy. He didn't want to have kids. He had a lot of trauma in his past. And what does he do when Mad Men comes to an end? He dumps Jennifer Westfeldt. I mean, they said it was mutual, but I think we can all fairly read the tea leaves on that one. He gets with a minor actress on Mad Men, practically an extra, right? So someone whose talent level is never going to eclipse his. She's half his age. He marries her, and he starts giving interviews about how he thinks he wants children now, which I'm sure Jennifer Westfeldt is so happy she sacrificed so much of her own dreams and life ambitions for that piece of shit. And finally, in fairness to Jon Hamm, which I think is more than he deserves, he did address these accusations, this reporting of the fraternity hazing that nearly killed a kid, by the way, who went on to become a doctor and a lawyer. Okay. And he specializes in, what do you think? Medical malpractice. Okay. That guy is a true contributing member of society. What did Jon Hamm become? A celebrity? Are you fucking kidding me? Jon Hamm told Esquire in, I think, 2015, of the allegations, quote, "I wouldn't say it's accurate. Everything about that is sensationalized, not a denial. I was accused of these things I don't, ellipses. It's so hard to get into. I don't want to give it any more breath. Not a denial. It was a bummer of a thing that happened." Break that apart. A bummer. A bummer is like you go to the surf shop and they're out of your favorite, oil or whatever. This is not a bummer. This is not a summer bummer. This is a vicious assault on a defenseless kid. You bullied him because he wanted to be cool like you. A bummer of a thing that happened. It didn't happen, Jon. You did it. You assaulted somebody. I was caught up. He continues. I was caught up. Poor me. I, me. I was caught up in a big situation, a stupid kid in a stupid situation, a bummer. I moved on from it. Well, I don't think that Mark Allen Sanders will probably ever move on from it. From the trauma, from whatever lasting medical damage that you inflicted on him, this guy is lucky he escaped with his life, and Jon Hamm gets to go sit on Jimmy Fallon and laugh it up about what a cool guy he is. Fuck that guy.